Good afternoon. My name's Kurt Gibson. That's K-U-R-T-G-I-B-S-O-N. I'm an Aviation Accident Investigator for the National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB. First and foremost, I'd like to pass along my personal as well as the condolences of the entire NTSB to the friends and family of the occupants of this tragic accident. Our mission at the NTSB is to find out what happened, why it happened, and what we can do to potentially prevent this from happening in the future. I arrived on scene this morning, and I've been working on scene all day long. With that, I only have some preliminary information, but I do have some information that I can pass along. On September 8th, 2024, a PA-28R-180, commonly known as the Piper Arrow, impacted terrain just south of the Basin Harbor Airport, which is behind me. There are 4 people on board. All the occupants were fatally injured, unfortunately. The aircraft had originally departed Windham Airport in Connecticut and had come here to the Basin Harbor Airport to have a lunch reservation. On departure at around 12:25 p.m. from the Basin Harbor Airport, the aircraft impacted terrain just south of the runway. When I arrived on scene, we verified the entire aircraft and all major components were accounted for at the accident scene, and it is in a very condensed area. The wreckage will be getting recovered later on today and sent to a salvage facility where we can examine it at a later date. This is just the initial process of the NTSB. We're just here to gather perishable information at the accident scene and to document the accident scene and also to document anything that might get damaged during the recovery process. Later on, I will be examining the wreckage at the recovery facility for any type of mechanical malfunctions or anomalies that might have contributed to the accident. We will also be looking at the pilot, his qualifications, and getting a 72-hour history of him. And we'll also be looking at the environment, the weather, any ATC involvement, the runway itself. All those components we'll be looking at a later date to determine a probable cause at a later date. Within 30 days, I'll be releasing a preliminary report that will just have the preliminary factual information that I've gathered thus far. In about 18 to 24 months, a final report will be released, and that will have the probable cause. At this time, I'll take any questions.
Do you know the specific aircraft, the Piper aircraft? Are there any recalls, any just generally the type of aircraft? I mean, do we know of any specific or other instances of crashes sort of like this with Piper aircrafts?
Again, we're very preliminary into this, but the Piper Arrow has been manufactured since the 1960s and 70s, and it's a very safe aircraft. There have been what are called airworthiness directives on Arrows, but we will be going through it to make sure maintenance has been complying with all those airworthiness directives.
How old was this specific Model 50?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
Between last night and this morning, you guys first arrived. Since the area is so heavily flooded, has that impacted any of the investigations so far?
It has made it a little bit more difficult, but as far as the investigation goes, no, it's not going to impact our investigation.
Are you able to talk at all about sort of who manages this airport or what the oversight might be like? Who monitors when planes are on the runway, and really if there was anyone who could have seen this when it happened at all?
This is just a private, uncontrolled airport, so there's no air traffic control, there's no controller tower. All the pilots just kind of have to go radio communications and tell everybody where they're at and what their intentions are.
Do smaller planes like this have any form of in-flight reporting?
These type of aircraft are not required to have a black box like you would in an airline, but there are newer avionics that can be installed in these older aircraft that do contain some non-volatile memory that might contain some data that we will be sending up to our lab up in DC for data extraction and analysis. I'll take one more question.
How do you and the FAA work together?
The NTSB and the FAA, we do a joint investigation. NTSB is primary on the air safety side. FAA performs enforcement in any regulation. So they are a part, they're always, by Congress, a party to the investigation for the NTSB. Matt, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. You'll have a good one.